Hello, Bells Up Studio. For today's 20-minute set, you are going to need 2 matching kettlebells, something that you feel comfortable holding in a double rack position for an descending ladder of lunges. You're going to be doing 6 reps total each leg, but switching out your legs in that ladder format for reps, which I'll tell you more about. And you're going to need to be able to press one of those kettlebells overhead for at least 5 reps. You can have multiple sets if you want to go heavy with the lunges, but if you only have 2, make this based on what you can press on one side for 5 reps and then duplicate those bells. We're going to go through a short warm up and then get into our descending ladder sets where, again, you're going to do strict presses and reverse lunges. Of course, I'm going to give you some modifications if you need them when we get there, but let's go ahead and get warmed up. So keep your bells kind of close to you because you will need one of them as we do this. We're going to start with some reverse lunges with a twist. You can bring your back knee all the way to the ground, or you can slightly elevate it off the floor as you twist. So what we're going to do is bring feet hip width apart, step back, knee can touch, and then you'll turn from your waist towards your front leg. Turn and stand up. You can turn and stand up at the same time, and I want you to make sure that you're rotating from the waist, not from your hips. So your knee should not be collapsing out to the side as you do this. If you want to elevate that back leg and then push and turn, go for it. So try to make sure that your weight is evenly distributed throughout your foot as you do this. Not too much to the outside, not too much to the inside. Really push through that foot to come up. You're going to be in this one for just about 10 seconds, and then we're going to take a little break, go into a half kneeling halo with an optional back foot elevated here. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth. Just take these a few more seconds. We'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, and rest. So we're going to take about a 20-second rest break here. And when you do your halos next, you can keep your back knee on the floor. You can elevate it 2 or 3 inches. We're going to spin our kettlebell towards the ear of the front leg side. We're going to do this again for about 40 seconds. Let's go ahead and try it out. Bring your belt up to your chest and flip it upside down. 3, 2, and 1. If it's a little bit heavy for you to lift your back knee, or if the bell just feels a little heavy for you with the ones that you have today to do this halo movement, I want you just to try to recreate the movement with your arms here. So just get some movement through your shoulders. Try not to lift up in your rib cage. If you are lifting up that back knee, try your best to push down your front foot and push down your back foot so you don't kind of fall and collapse in your hips. Your lower body should stay like a statue here versus kind of shifting and falling over. We're going to do your other side in just a few seconds here. We'll go 3, 2, and 1. You get just about a 20-second rest break. If you need to pad your knee, put something under your knee for this part, you definitely can. That knee elevation is a little more challenging, a little more advanced, but that takes care of that problem there, right? We're going to go through your opposite side. Try to keep your shoulders over your hips as much as possible. We'll go 3, 2, and 1. So again, level 1 is here. We're just rotating our arms around, keeping the knee down. Level 2 could be here, lifting up the knee and trying that rotation. Level 3 could be the bell just going around. This would be my left ear around that front leg side, keeping it nice and low. And then again, the highest level here, which would be level 4, is pushing down your foot and going around your ear at the same time. My left foot here or my left side is a little weaker. So my foot wants to naturally come up and that takes me off balance. I have to work super hard to push down the big toe bed, push back my back heel as I hold that leg up. You're here for another 3, 2, and 1. Okay, we're going to take some alternating strict presses for this last set of our mini warm-up here because we are pressing today. We're just going to get our body flowing through this movement. So a couple things to remember. Your booty is tight. You're squeezing the cheeks. You're pulling up in your quads. You're pushing your feet down. Your body should feel like a plank as you press. You do not, again, want to lift your rib cage up here as you press. We want this all locked in place. That glute squeeze is going to help, so is your grip on your kettlebell. So as you do this for the warm-up, this last piece, you're just going to switch your bell side to side, so it's going to look like this. I'm going to clean it up, squeeze my butt, make my body a plank press, pull it down, and then I'm just going to switch in the air. If this does not feel good for you, you can set the bell down and pick it up from the floor. So this is all we're going to do for the warm-up. Go ahead and pick your bell up. Let's just flow between our sides here in 3, 2, and 1. So I would press. I want you to finish at the top. So maybe hold it 2 seconds here before you pull it down. Remember, this is just a warm-up. I don't care how many reps you can do here. I want you to practice getting the bell into a nice solid position in your clean where you have your wrist stacked over your elbow, you're squeezing your glutes, and you're able to really get a nice, strong, and straight path up to the top. So I'm pushing, squeezing. You might only get 2 or 3 reps each side, but concentrate again on connecting the dots. Your tension, your breath, and your full extension at the top. So there should be no bent elbows, nice and locked out. You're here for 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and set those bells down. We're gonna get into our final set of class. There's really only one set in these 20-minute sessions, and it's gonna take 5 rounds. You're gonna have 90 seconds on and no time off. So the time off is already built into the set. If you need to adjust your reps, as in you do your first round of each and your weight feels kind of heavy, you're not getting very much recovery, you should at least be getting 30 seconds recovery in between the sets. If that's not happening for you, I want you to drop the rep count down to make that happen. If it's too much for you to rack your kettlebells and step back into your reverse lunge, I want you to hold them at your sides. You can definitely go in between those two things. It's gonna depend on what you have access to and the level you're at. So there's no shame if you don't do it exactly as written in the program. You've got to make a good judgment call based on what equipment you have. So let's go ahead and get our bells out. We're gonna get this set started, and I want you to, again, try to think of using a weight that doesn't feel like the heaviest thing you've ever lifted. This is not a slow and steady pace here. If you do go heavy, it can be the lunges. Grab those weights, get them out. We're gonna get started in about 30 seconds and moving through this 90-second round with your 5 rounds. So roll your shoulders back. Let's go ahead and kind of shake our ankles out a little bit, spin your feet. We're gonna take these up. Hold them at the chest. If you want to practice a lunge or two here, just getting into position because we added that twist in the warm-up, you have about 10 seconds to do so before we start this 90-second set. So it's going to be 90, 90, and then 90, 90. We're going to go through that 5 times here. Okay, let's go ahead, get it popping. Clock is on in 3, 2, and 1. So I'm gonna rack my bells. What I'm gonna do is step back 3 times on one side. You might be like, Lacey, you didn't really tell us the reps. You're gonna go 3 times on the other side. Then you're gonna switch and hit 2 reps each side. So I'll push on my first side, hit 2, 1, and 2, making sure to bend my front knee forward. And then my final is going to be just 1 rep left and right. Once I finish that, whatever time I have left is my rest break. Again, this is gonna vary for everybody. I just finished that with some pretty light weights for me in a little over 30 seconds. So that means I have a full 60 seconds to catch my breath, which I actually need, because you guys can hear I'm breathing a little heavy talking through those sets. You might not feel like you need as much, but remember, this is the first round. You also are not going to probably get as much in the presses because we're gonna switch sides. You have 30 seconds until we hit the presses. This is what it's gonna look like. You're gonna press 3 on your left, switch your hand, press 3 on your right, switch your hand, press 2 on the left, switch your hand, press 2 on the right. You have 90 seconds to complete that. And then we do this whole thing again and keep rolling through it for the rest of this 20-minute class. Let's go ahead, start those presses. Clock is on here in 3, 2, and 1. So this is where having that kettlebell that you can press at least 5 times is clutch, because I'm asking you to do 6 reps and they will add up. So you're not doing 6 consecutively. You're getting that little mini break between your sides. But if you're using a bell that's a little too heavy, it's gonna feel like a struggle to complete this amount of reps. You're doing 12 total in this 90-second period. So right about here, we've had 30 seconds pass, and I'm on my second side for 2 with a bell that's pretty light for me. So if you need to set your bell down, take a little break between your sides, you have time. This is not something that you need to rush through. You can definitely work on re-cleaning your bell from the floor and then bringing it up. I'm just going fast so I can kind of keep the class moving, and because my weight's light so I can talk and teach. You have 30 seconds right about here until we go back to those lunges. So that's gonna give you a little bit of context for how fast this class is going. I'm gonna take my next set in that suitcase position. So you can have an example of that. You can go back to your double racked position, which is a little more challenging because it's going to elevate your heart rate a little more because the bells are at your chest. If you're choosing to go heavy today, I would say you're gonna be able to go heavier with the suitcase style. Let's go ahead, bring your bells up or to your sides for your lunges in 3, 2, and 1. So I'm here, I'll just step back for those 3 reps. I wanna finish my lunge, touching my knee to the floor if possible. I don't want to bang my knee on the floor, so I want you to try to control that down, and you do this by pushing through your front foot. If you don't often do lunges without shoes, and this doesn't feel great to bend your toes back in this flexion point at the bottom, I would suggest trying to do lunges without shoes a little bit and working on that toe flexion. So right here, 30 seconds have passed. I have about a minute until we're gonna go to the presses again. I do have to say, like, if that's a struggle for you, you're never gonna get better at it if you keep wearing shoes as kind of padding for that issue. You also do not have to not wear shoes. So it is good for your foot and your toes to be able to reach back like that, and maybe you work that in different ways. So if this is excruciating for you in bare feet, like I'm doing now, or you can't do this with bare feet, like maybe you're training in a public gym and that just isn't an acceptable thing in that public space, don't sweat it. Try it though if, like, let's say you're doing this out on the beach somewhere, which is such a benefit for kettlebell training. You know, maybe you take your shoes off and you're doing this in a bikini and it's thoroughly enjoyable. Let's go ahead and hit your presses for round 2 and 3, 2 and 1. So I want to clean and press right away. If you're cleaning, so this is something I see a lot here, and then we're kind of chilling, we're like getting into position, then we get tight and push. That works when you're a little more beginner or the weight isn't so heavy that you're not at risk of lifting it if you don't get it up right away. So what I mean there is that if this bell is pretty heavy for you to lift for a rep, you don't want to waste any energy just chilling here. So I would try to get your feet in a position that you're gonna leave them. So mine, notice I didn't move them. They're a little bit wide for maybe what I would wanna press sometimes. I try to clean with my feet as narrow as possible. If you need to step in a little bit, I want that step to be intentional and quick. You have about 30 seconds here until we go back to our lunges. This round is like the top of the mountain round. You've reached the summit. You just have 2 more sets of this after this next round before we are finished with our 20-minute set today. Look at that. I love these quick classes because honestly, if you just need something that you know you're not going to train because of time constraints, most of us could probably get in 20 minutes, more than 40, more than 60, and these just work so well for that. Okay, let's go ahead and try your lunges. Here we go, 3, 2, and 1. So remember, you're racking them or holding them suitcase. Those are your 2 options here. You could also hold one bell at your chest. So if you've got into a situation where you're like, lunges are not my strong suit here, I need to work on these, this is perfectly acceptable as you're learning. You might even try pushing it out a little as you step back. That's gonna help you if you're someone that kind of rounds your shoulders forward here. So try, again, some of these different versions, especially if you're newer to weight training or if you're newer to kettlebell training and you haven't before. You're never gonna really discover what works best for you unless you give some options a try. Okay, 40 seconds, we're gonna be on our presses again. As you can see, this is an example of what I would call maybe like a strength and cardio class. Your heart rate's getting up a lot. You don't have a lot of recovery time here when it comes down to it, especially if the weights feel big. So if you're kind of breathing slowly, or you feel like you're never quite catching your breath at this point, that's all good. It's a short class. You don't have that much left. This is the top of the mountain here. We have our 3-3, 2-2, 1-1 presses in 10 seconds, and I want you to be aware, getting that bell up and starting that press right away. Booty is tight, my friends. Let's go 3, 2, and 1. So I get in place, I clean, and I squeeze press. I breathe in through the nose, squeeze, press, breathe out. You can slightly look up at your bell, lifting your chest, as long as you aren't completely flaring your ribs. So the difference would be here. My butt is tight, my rib cage is stacked, versus here where I'm lifting this way. You can kind of tell sometimes if you're lifting in a bit of a weird way, if your feet kind of want to move around and come up off the floor. So if you're someone that when you press, you're leaning but the foot's coming up, that's not great. You can lean over and away from your bell. I actually think that that is preferable sometimes when your bell is really big or when your weight is really big, but you want to make sure you're not kind of taking that foot off the floor. You want to stay grounded in those feet because that's where all your pressure points come from to make the tension you need to lift. This is your 30-second break right about here. So if you are still pressing, finish up now so you have that time. We're going to go into our lunges. This is set 4 of 5. Set 4 of 5. So just 2 more. Let's keep our heads in the game here. I got to tighten up my pony just a little bit, move around just a little bit. 10 seconds, we're going to pick your bells up. Pick the version that works best for you. You should know what that is by now. Okay, go ahead. Feet come between your bells. Let's stick the booties back. 3, 2, and 1. So if this is you, if you're kind of losing your hip here and falling forward, I want you to think a lot about keeping your chest up and maybe holding one bell at your chest. Sometimes what works is also if you have a table or TRX straps or rings you can hold, you can work on this motion as you're lunging and push down into the table as you stand for some extra support because we don't want to be like falling and collapsing into the hip. I know you have 2 bells in your hands right now, but the other thing I see sometimes is like step back for the lunge and use this arm to help come up. That's not what we want. We got to work on the pattern. So the goal here is that our shoulders stay over hips and the knee can really bend forward just like it does in a squat. So we shouldn't be feeling this in our low backs at all here. 30-second break is coming up soon, so you have a little bit more. I want you to try to finish up those reps. Most of you should probably be finished with them. The lunges don't take as much time as the presses because again, we're not losing that time switching our sides with the kettlebell, just with our feet. 20 seconds, presses, round 4. And then we have 1 more set of each. You guys are through this 20-minute class. This is like a little bugger, this class. If you really like this one, hit the favorite button here or remember the name, and you can always come back to it. This doesn't have to be like, do it once. If you really liked this and you're in a gym later in your own different day, pull up this program. It's a great one. Let's go 3, 2, and 1. Cool thing too is these are so doable with limited equipment because sometimes, you know, I've had moments where in my life I've been on vacation and I've wandered down to a hotel gym and I've been following a program for a long time, but I'll usually like look at my program and then try to dissect it and figure out how to make some kind of like gym program based on the equipment that's there. Maybe there aren't kettlebells. Maybe there's very few dumbbells sometimes. Those of you that travel a lot for your job or just your life, you know how hard it can be sometimes to stay on track with a program. And having these classes, they're always going to be based on total body, on cardio, or on a training split, which today we've got some lower body unilateral work, hip work. You're getting your quads, your glutes with those lunges. You have 30 seconds here to rest. We do everything 1 more time. And then you're getting some upper body push. Your core is coming along for the ride. So you're getting a solid session. And with these 20-minute things, you could always double it and keep repeating this if you want it to be a little longer. So options, it's not hard to remember, right? 3, 2, 1 lunge, 3, 2, 1 press, 3, 2, 1 lunge, 3, 2, 1 press. What a gift, here we go. Okay, let's go ahead and get ready for our last set. Those lunges are coming in hot. This is your last round of these. Let's pick up your bells. 3, 2, and 1. Give your elbows a little lift if you need to. You just don't want to lean back. We're not leaning from our low back. We're just doing that little lift to help us keep the bells in place without rounding our upper back here. Keep pushing through your front foot. Try to control that knee on the way down. I'm gonna squeeze my bells a little tighter for this last rep each side. I hope you guys do the same. Step out, drop the bells with care. Reminder, most gym injuries, I think, someone's been a trainer for a long time, happen when we're not managing tension, when we're setting down the weight. Most people, we're great at picking up the weight. We're not so great at finishing when we're tired and then just dropping it. So if you just drop your weight to the floor, your weight is probably gonna go somewhere you don't want it to, like your back or into your joints. So set them down with care. You wanna really work on sending your hips back. Just think of it like the old school thing we've all learned in our life. Bend your knees to pick up the box. You can squat, you can hinge to do that. Same idea when you're weight training. Set them down with as much care as you pick them up. Okay, that's my little kettlebell mom speech for you guys. You have 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1 reps of presses. Last set here, let's get after it. Clock is on. 3, 2, and 1. Try cleaning your bell with your feet a little closer. See how that feels. I just move mine in a lot. And I get a little more booty squeeze when my feet are close. You have to just watch your knees and you're clean, but if your bell isn't enormous, you're gonna be fine here. This is another session that blends well for all levels. Remember that if the rep count feels a little too high for you for where you're at, you're just gonna drop some down. Maybe it looks like 2, 2, 1. Maybe it looks like 2, 1, 1. You can still make that ladder. Just shave a rep off of each section of it if you need to. Finishing out your last little bit here. I'm gonna go 1 each side, then set my bell down. Final rep. Always feels so good, right? Whew. Okay, once you finish that out, bell comes down to the floor. I'm gonna give you guys another 30 seconds to just gather yourselves and remind you that this class is part of a bigger series. So you're gonna wanna do all of these classes in order if you're doing them together. If you're doing this class as a one-off, just save it if you really liked it. These classes, when you follow them within the structure of the program, are all gonna be segmented by upper, lower, a different pattern each time. So maybe we'll do a hinge for the lower, a push or a pull for the upper, or a squat, whatever, and then a cardio mixed in there. So you're gonna get everything in these 20-minute sets. That's it. I'm gonna see you guys, if you're doing this in the program, in your next class. Remember, get real, get strong, bells up. Bye.